Hello and how are you? Welcome to our 9th class of learning how to create websites or how to program web application at a beginner level. In the previous class, we got introduced to PHP programming language, and today we are going to resume from where we stopped at in the previous class. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So we're going to begin by opening the project that we worked with last time. So I'll go to my text editor and then I'll navigate where the project is. So I'll go there and the folder that I was working with was called learn_php. Okay, I think it's here. So it is here in my htdocs, and that is where we stopped at in the previous class. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start my localhost. So if you're using Windows, you have to start your XAMPP. And if you're using Mac, you have to start your MAMP accordingly. So I'm going to start my localhost, which is here, and I'll click on start here. So it has already started. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to restart it again. Okay. So if you're also having a Windows machine, go ahead and start your localhost, or you start your XAMPP, okay, or your Apache. So after starting that, so we're going to proceed and do what, and see how we can run a file of PHP. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back here to my project, and I'm going to run at least here one file, and we make sure that we're on the same level. So I'm going to copy this name of this file, where I can get it by pressing Ctrl Shift and S, so that I should be able to copy it. Okay, so I'll copy the name, and then I'll open my browser, which is here, and I'll type localhost stroke the learn PHP, and then stroke the file name. Okay, so I hope everyone can do that, and you can see I am able to get a list of variables that we practiced in the previous video. So I've successfully run this file of PHP. So right now I'm going to open W3 Schools so we can be able to follow the syllabus. So I'll come to W3 Schools and search PHP. Okay, PHP W3 Schools, and then I'll click there. The first search result, and then last time we stopped at variables and we discussed what is meant by variables and everything. So we're going to resume where we're going to look at strings and a few things that you can do with strings. So a string is just a group of characters, okay, a group of text. So in case you want to handle maybe a name or a sentence, you'll handle in a data type called string. So there are some functions of PHP that can help us to deal with the strings. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a separate file that we're going to use to practice string related things. So I'll come to my project and come and click new file, and then I'm going to call this one 5_ PHP strings. I can say string or strings .php. Okay, .php. So the extension is very important. So I'll go ahead and create that file there. So if I come and run it by just removing this first part, and I put 5_php_strings, I'll be able to access this empty screen because there's nothing there. So I'll come here and open my PHP tag, okay, and then write PHP, and then I can be able to say, maybe I can say name, I can say first name equals Mohindo. So this is how we create a string. So I can later come and display it here, saying echo name, first name. So this is how we create a string, and we store there the content, and then we do what? We display it. So if I come and refresh, you can see I'm just seeing the results. So what you are saying that PHP has some functions that can help you to deal with your strings. So for example, is the counting of the number of characters in the string. For example, you're doing an application and you want to know how long a sentence is, or how long a word is, or how long a group of texts are. So to do that, you need you may need an inbuilt function of PHP called strlen. So strlen is a function that will give you the length of what? Of string. So I can now say, if I want to display how long this word is, I can say this name. So I call the function. So if I want to tell how long this word is, I'll just simply write strlen. Okay, so when I write strlen, this one will return for me the size of a certain string. So I can pass here maybe this first name, and I pass it here between these brackets. You see, between those brackets. So when I pass it there, I'll be able to get the length of what? Of that particular string. So if I come here and refresh, you can see this name Mohindo has 7 letters. For example, if I add here maybe Mubarak like this, so it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 letters. So if I come and refresh, you can see this name will have 15 letters. So that is how you may know how long a certain string is, by just simply calling this function str and then write the word len, and then you pass there whatever you want to count. Okay, so what you pass here, this function return for you how long that particular word or string is. So that is one of the functions that you may need to use, and it is a PHP inbuilt function. Okay, so we have other functions such as word count. This word count, it can count for us the number of words that are in a certain function. For example, I want to see, so let me comment this one. Okay, for example, if I want to see the number of words in this particular string, I'll just come and write here str word and then underscore count. Okay, str word count, it will tell us how many words are in a certain string. For example, here we have 2 words. So if I come and refresh here, you'll see I'm able to display 2. Otherwise, if I put here another space like this, I can say maybe I can add my third name. Okay, so there are now 3 names or 3 words in this string. So if I come and refresh here, you'll see they have changed it to 3. So this str word count, it will help us to count the words in a string. So if you want to do maybe a logic that will check if a certain string is having more than 1 word, or the number of words that in a particular string, you can use this str word count. So str reverse or str rev, it will reverse the string. For example, if I want to see if I reverse this string, or if I reverse this name, how will it look like, the reverse of my name. So to do that, I can just simply come here and say echo, and then I pass str rev. So str rev, its function is going to reverse the name, okay, or the string. So I can pass there first underscore name, and then I save, and then if I come and refresh, you'll see the name has been reversed. Can you see? So if I want to reverse my name, I can reverse it like that. Is this name even readable? I don't know. Ordini home, something like that. Okay, so that is how you can reverse a certain string. So there are so many functions of PHP. Just all what you can do is just to come and learn about them. So string functions, you can find them here in references. Okay, so if you come in references, you'll find almost all the functions of strings of PHP. See, come under references. So all functions are here. Print, what. So anything that you may want to know about strings, all the functions, they'll be here. So that's all for strings. And in simple terms, a string is a group of text, and then PHP gives us a list of functions that we can use to manipulate or to work with with our strings. So I can proceed to numbers. Numbers, as we said, they are numbers as they sound. Okay, so they can help us to deal with integers, to deal with floats, to deal with doubles and all that. So for example, if you want to define a certain number, you can just simply put the variable name and then the number itself. So let us and PHP has given us some functions that can help us to check, that can help us to work with numbers. Among the functions we have is int. So this is int will tell you whether a number is an integer or not. It's integer and is long. So is long tell you whether the number is a long or not. So let us go ahead and see how we can deal with numbers or with some numbers. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a file of PHP and I'm going to call it numbers. So I'll just simply come to my project and then click there, and then I'm going to call this one number 6 underscore PHP Numbers dot PHP. So after doing that, I'm going to now open the curly bracket here, the square bracket of PHP, the angle bracket. Okay, so and I will go ahead and define a number. For example, I can say age equals 100. Okay, so if I want to display this age, I can just simply say echo age. Okay, so this one will tell me the value that I've just added here. So if I come and refresh, let me first get the name. If I come and refresh here, you can see I have the number. So if you want to check whether it is an integer or not, you can use var_dump here. Just simply pass var_dump and then between it you pass the number. So this one, it will tell you the type of variable. So that is a number. A number can as well be a double. For example, if we put a full stop here, a decimal point, and attach the numbers behind it, of course it will be a float. Okay, so a float is something that is having a decimal point. So what you should notice is that when you're defining a number, we don't surround the numbers with what? With the double quotes or with quotes. We just put the number straight. Okay, so we proceed. Let us look at what we call casting or typecasting. For example, sometimes you may want to change a number, a string into a number. Assume that we have, for example, let us say like we have this age and it is surrounded with quotes. Okay, with quotes like this. So you see here it was saying it was a number. Let's make it maybe 100. So as long as when I surround it with quotes, it will turn into a string. So sometimes you may want to convert a certain string into numbers. For example, someone may put something like this. So AB that we have attached is not a number, of course. Then it's just a group of characters. So if you want to get the possible values of a number, then we have to do what we call typecasting. Typecasting, it will get the minimum or the possible values and convert it into a particular data type that you want. So for example, I want to convert this one into an integer. So here I'm echoing it before I do what? Before I convert it. Then after converting, let me echo here a br tag to separate the lines. After converting, I am going to now, after printing it, I'm going now to convert it. So to convert it, I'll just simply do what we call typecasting. Okay, maybe I can say age 1 equals. So if I want to convert this particular string into a number, I will have to do what we call typecasting. So I'll just simply open bracket and put the word int. The data type int. So this data type of int, this is it means that whatever you're going to do, it should be converted into an integer. So after writing the int, and then you come and open another bracket, and then you put what you want to change. So I want to change this age into a number. You see here it is a string. Now I want to change it to a number. So I just simply put int in bracket, and then I follow it another one with int in bracket, and then I put a semicolon at last. Then after, I'm going to dump, and we see what we come up with. So what I'll do, I'll just simply come and say, I don't need to put here var dump, in fact. Okay, just say, you can mute your microphone, please. Okay, so I can say var dump, and I put here h1. Okay, so you see here it is, let me put maybe hr. You see here is before we convert it. Here we convert it to integer, and then we dump it. So you see here it is having some a and b when it is a string. Let us now see when we dump it when it is an integer, and we see what we'll come up with. So if I refresh, you can see this one, it is a string when it is 5, and then this one is just only 100, and it's an integer. So what does it mean? It means that we have found the possible values and convert it into what? Into a string. When we'll start making applications that may require calculations, such applications, you'll find that we'll need a logic whereby you want to deal with the number specifically. So to do that, you'll have to do what? To be able to typecast. Okay, to typecast. So this is what is meant by typecasting, converting a certain data type to another data type. So we proceed. Let us see what these guys talked about. So that's all about numbers. You can come and learn more about numbers here in PHP. So we proceed to constants. So what is a constant? A constant are like variables, except that once they are defined, they cannot be changed. So a constant is something that is not going to be changed. So if you're going to create an application that you will need things that you will not want to change anywhere, either by mistake or intentionally, then you'll have to define them by what? By in form of constants. So once you define them in form of constants, it means that you can reuse them, and then you cannot even do what? You cannot change them. So let us see how you can define constants. For example, let us say you're making an application. So the name of that application is of course going to be constant. So if you want to keep it static, so you have to define it as a what? As a constant. Okay. So let us go ahead and see how we can define a constant. So I'm going to create here another file. I'm going to call it file number 7 underscore php constants.php. Okay, so there we're going to start our PHP, and then after I'm going to define a constant. So how do you define constants? We define constants by simply writing the word define, the keyword define, and then it will pass two things. The first thing, it will pass a constant name, and the second thing will pass the constant value itself. Assume that I want to define maybe my base URL or the application name. So it's advised constant to be written in capital letters, so that you should be able to separate them from what? From other normal variables. So I can say app name, of course has to be in quotes, okay, and then you pass comma, and then you give its value. Okay, so maybe I can call this one maybe I can say Jumia. Okay, so let's say we are creating an application or a system called Jumia. So a name Jumia, you will not need it to change anywhere in your application. So what do? You define it, okay, like this. So once you define something like this, you cannot change it. It will not be possible to be changed. So let's see how you can access the constant. So to access the constant, you don't need a $sign. You just call the constant name, and then you'll be able to get it. So I can say print, I can say echo, and I surround it. I can say echo welcome to, and then I'm going to attach the app name. Sorry. Okay, let me just put welcome to, and then I'm going to echo the app name. Okay, so this is how we define, and that's how we access I hope that's it. Let me see. You define and then you access. Okay, this is how you define and that's access. So let us go ahead. Just to access an app name, you just, to access a constant. This is what you call a constant. This is what you call constant. To access a constant, you don't need a dollar sign, right? You don't need a dollar sign. So let's go ahead and run this file and see what will come up with. So I'll come and open the PHP and then paste it here. You can see, welcome to Jumia. So if you try to change this, maybe app name, of course, PHP will not allow you, and then it will create what? An error. So if I come and put a semicolon here and I refresh, you see, it will not allow me. Why? Because you cannot change, you cannot redefine, or you cannot change a constant. So a constant, these will be variables that will not be changing. For example, variables like database connection. You know, the database connection must be static from beginning up to the end. So what you may need to do, you may define those as what? As constants, and so many others. And some other things that you may need. For example, I can put our slogan. Maybe you can say slogan of Jumia shopping made easy. Is it the one? I forgot it. Your day delivered, I think. Your what? Your day delivered. I think that's the slogan. Okay. So when you're creating a mobile app, your systems, you may need some things that will be static, that you will not need to change. So you define them like that. You just write that define, and then you pass the first parameter, slogan, and then the second parameter you pass the value name. So I can put here. I can put there your day delivered, something like that. So if I come and refresh, you'll see, welcome to Jumia, your day delivered. Is it the one? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so you can see the simple terms is that things that you will not be changing, you may need to be defining them in the form of what? In the form of contact, in the form of constants, and then also constants, they don't do what? They don't change names. So you can come and learn more about constants here at W3 Schools. Okay. So they are saying that if you define a constant, for example, this one as a slogan, you can as well access it like this by changing the case slogan. Okay. So it will also be okay, no problem. Okay. So if you want to remove, you have to pass here true. I think you have to pass here true so that you can access it even with lowercase, I think. So if I come and refresh, does not allow that. So slogan, you may, constants, you may even define them without, we may access them without doing what? Without using a dollar sign. That's how they are accessed, without using a dollar sign. Wanted to do something like this, but it failed. So we'll try it. Okay. So we proceed to the next topic, which is operators. So operators, they are used to perform operations on variables and values. Okay. And we have different types of operators in PHP. We have arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, increment and decrement operators. We have logical operators. We have string operators, array operators, and conditional operators. So we're going to look at each of most of these, not all of them, but most of them that are important. So arithmetic operators, these are the ones that are used to perform arithmetic operations such as subtracting, adding, multiplication, division. So if you want to do maybe addition of number, you want to do subtraction of numbers, want to do multiplication of numbers, so you'll have to use what you call arithmetic operators of PHP. So here are the arithmetic operators of PHP. We have the operator here, and then we'll have its name, and we'll see here its example and what it can bring. So this plus, we will use it for adding two numbers. Even in real world, I think that's how things be. We use a plus to add two numbers. Then we'll have a minus for subtracting two numbers. For example, you want to subtract a certain number from the other, you'll have to use this dash or a minus. We have a star or asterisk. We use it for multiplication. If you want to multiply two numbers, you'll use this star to multiply a certain number with the other. Then you have the division. This one will be used to divide one number by the other. Then you have a percentage or modulus. This one will give the remainder. Okay, if you remember the finite, so this one will give the finite number or what you call the remainder. So we have the asterisk or star. This one will help us to do what? To do the exponentiation, the power thing. If you want to do something power the other, the exponentiation of the other, we'll use the star to do that. So let's go ahead and do some examples of this. I'll come and I'm going to do all the operators in a single file. So we're going to create another file here for operators, and I'll just simply come to our project, click on this plus, and then come and say PHP. So it's going to be number 8 underscore PHP Operators.php. So after doing that, I'm going to come here and paste it here, and then we'll see there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and see how we can implement a plus. Of course, we can just simply do like this. PHP, and then I can say maybe A equals to 20, and then say B equals to 45. Okay, so we're going to see how we can add these two numbers. So if you want to add two numbers, you can define another variable and say C equals 2. So if you want to add them, you just simply say A and then use this plus sign and then put the B. So by doing like that, it will add two numbers. So if here we display the C, let us go ahead and display and see what C will be like. It's going to be 20 plus 45, and you know the answer. So if I come and refresh, you can see the answer is 65. So let's go ahead and present maybe all of them on screen by simply using the quotes. I can say maybe A, and then I put here now a plus. Now since this one are just surrounded with quotes, it means they are going to be treated as string, not like a real operation. Okay, so I can say A plus, and then I put B equals. Okay, so this $sign will just be used to access the values of these particular things. So A plus B equals C, and that's what is the logic, and this is what I want just to display. So if I come and refresh, you can see 20 plus 45, the answer is 65. So if I come and maybe put here maybe 21, of course it will perform the logic, and you can see that. So that's how we perform the addition. So if I want to perform subtraction, I'll just simply put the minus, and maybe I can come and change it on to see a minus. So if I come and refresh, you'll see 20 and 1 minus 45, the answer is negative 24. So that's how we perform arithmetic operations. So when you're practicing, go ahead and practice the remaining ones. Practice the multiplication and see if it will give you the right results that you expect, as well as the modulus or the finite. So we can proceed to assignment operators. So assignment operators, they are used with numeric values to write a value to a variable. So in case you want to save something inside a variable, or you want to put something inside a variable, what you'll do, you'll have to use the assignment operators, and that's what we've been doing. So I will not go ahead and practice this one. For example, if you want to store y in x, you just simply put the equal sign. Okay, so let us go ahead and look at these assignment operators, right? So we have plus y plus equal to y. So this one, what will do, it will just add the two numbers. It will be just like you can say 1 plus the other. You can as well say minus y. This one is also equivalent to subtract y minus x. So if you have a value, for example x, and you want to do a certain action on it, you may not need to repeat it again in order to do some action on it. For example, you have x and you want to subtract maybe a y from that x. So instead of writing x equals to x minus y, what you may do, you may just simply write minus equal to y, and then it will subtract y and then store it into x. So you can see and play with those ones when you practice. Okay, so we have comparison operators. Comparison operators, we use them to compare, and we will see these ones most when we're going to go and look at the conditions. Okay, so this comparison, for example, you want to compare if something is equivalent to the other, it is identical to the other, or it's not equal, or it's not identical to the other. What we use what you call comparison operators. So among the comparison operators, we have these double equal signs. For example, you want to see if two numbers are equal. What we'll be using, we'll use two double equal signs. Remember, one double equal sign is the one for assigning, but this one is the one for just comparing, not to assign. So here, identical, we'll look at it when proceed to if conditions. In fact, let's begin. Let me see where are the if conditions. I think they are the next, so don't worry, we're going to look at all these ones. So let's begin them here. So we have what we call, okay, we'll look at them when we proceed to if conditions. Okay, so this one will check if something is exactly the same. This one will check if something is not equal to the other. This one will check if something is also not equal. So these two, they're equivalent to each other. They are the same. So this one will check if a certain value is greater than the other, and this one will check if a certain value is less than the other. This one will check if a certain value is greater or equal to. So we write it by just simply putting the greater than sign and follow it and make it follow and put the next thing as what? At the equal sign. So it will do the logic of checking if a certain number is greater or equal to. So this one is we use it to check if it's less or equal to. So we have increment operators. Increment operators, we use them to increment a certain number. So if you just put plus plus x, what will happen? It will do what we call pre-increment. It will first increment and then return the result. And if you put x plus plus, it will do what we call post increment. It will first return the result and then do what? And then increment. And then if you do minus the value, this is called post decrement. This one's called this one is pre-decrement and this one is post decrement. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll have also what we call logic operators. Most of these operators, you'll see them when you look at the if conditions. So these logic operators, we use them to perform conditional statements or when you're making decisions. So they help us to write a certain logic. So we have the AND. So the AND, it will help us to see if both of the conditions are what? Have been satisfied. So the OR, it will be used to check if one of the two conditions is satisfied. And then the ZO, if you learn mathematics or if you learn calculus, you understand the ZO. So the ZO, it will check if either x or y is true, but not both. So this one will check if one of them is true, but not both are true. That's what you call the ZO. And then we have AND. This will also work as this AND. And then these two bars, the standing bars, they also work as what? As O. Then we have this exclamation mark. It will work as what? As not equal to. So we're going to practice now all these ones using what? Using if conditions. So let us go ahead and look at if conditions. Then we'll come back here and we see how we practice each of these ones until we get until we understand. So we are going to come back here. So I'll come and open this one, new tab here. Okay. So this if condition, or what you call conditional statements, are used to perform different action based on the condition. So when you want to make a decision based on a certain condition, what we do, we always use the if conditions. So we have three types of if conditions. The first one of conditional statements, the first one is if condition, the other one is if else, and the other one is if else if, and then the other one is a switch. So let's go ahead and look at the if condition, how we can implement if condition in programming. So to do that, I will simply come here and create if statement. Maybe I'll come and save this one and make it number 9 underscore if dot php. Copy it, and then I'll come and soon first remove everything, so you can see nothing is being displayed. So now I say that we'll come back here and we see how we can use this one to help us also when I'm making conditions. So the first thing, comparison operators, we had equal sign. So we're going to check if two numbers are equal or not. So if you want to check if two numbers are equal or not, or if two variables are equal or not, we can first define a certain variable a equals to maybe 30, and then say b equals to 30. So if you want to check if these two numbers are equal, what you'll do, you write what you call if condition. This is how if condition is written. You write an if sign, and then you open bracket and close it. So between here, you write your condition, and then after this bracket, you open a curly bracket after them, like this, and then between here, you write what piece of code you want to be executed if these two conditions, if this condition is satisfied or if this condition is true. I repeat, you write if condition, you write if, and then you open bracket. So between here, you put your condition using the condition operators, and then you open curly bracket, and then here you put a piece of code that you want to be executed if if this condition is satisfied, or if the condition is true. So let's go ahead and see and write our if and check if these values are true. We will display that they are equal. Okay, so let us go ahead and do that. We just simply say if, and then you put a. Remember, if we said that when we want to compare two numbers, we use these two double equal signs. So you can say if a equals 2, so you put double equal sign, equals 2b, and then you open curly bracket, and then you write here what you want to be executed. So I can simply say echo yes, and then I put the value of a is equal to the value of b. So this condition will only be executed if this condition, this pair of this piece of code will only be executed if this condition is satisfied, or if it is true. Otherwise, it will not be executed. So let's go ahead and see. So if I come and refresh here, you can see, yes, 30 is equal to 30. Why? Because we made here 30 and it's not 30. So if it means that if I change here 1 like this, 1, it means now they are not equal. So you can see this piece of code has been skipped. Can you see anything on the screen? No. yet we have something in our code. So this code in this particular bracket, it is skipped. Why is it skipped? It's because the condition was not satisfied. A is not equal to B. 31 is not equal to 30. So as long as it's not satisfied, then the condition and that piece of code will do what? Will be skipped. As you can see, it has been skipped. So now that brings us to another type of a condition statement, the else part. So assume now, what if it is not found? What should be said? So you may need again to attach another part called else. Okay, so you can now say, so instead of checking again now if they are not equal and then you write it, so I can come here and maybe I'll check. Now if they are not equal, I should be able to say that this is not equal to the other. So one way of doing that, I can just simply come and I repeat myself here by saying if A, and remember we said they're not equal, what do we use? We use this piece of sign. It will check if something is not equal. Okay, so I can say if A is not equal, like this, that's how I write not equal, is not equal to B, I should echo. Okay, I should echo this piece of line and say I say no, A is not, let us put here maybe in capital, not equal. Okay, that's maybe put here. So this one will be executed if A is not equal to B, then this will be executed. If A equals to B, then this one will be executed. So this is how we write operations. So you can use such a knowledge, for example, when you want to verify a password. Assume that someone is trying to log in into your system and you want to check if he entered the correct password, something like that. So you may use the if conditions to do that. So if I come and refresh now, you can see no, that one is not equal to 30, which is true. Okay, but if you come and say maybe here 11 and put here 11, so what is going to happen? It's going to be yes, 11 is equal to 11. Why? Because the condition is true. So that brings us to the else part. So instead of you repeating yourself here, there is another way of how you can, if you're having such a condition that one is negating the other, instead of you repeating yourself, you can go ahead and do the other way around. So the other way around, you come and attach here the else part. Okay, right, like this, else. Okay, so that's what you call if else, and then you open the bracket. So this if else will be, the else part will be executed if the first one was wrong. So instead of me coming and rewrite it here, I can just simply come and cut this piece of code and then let me just comment it. Okay, so I'll just come and put here the else part. So what will happen? It will first check if A is equivalent to B. If they're equivalent to each other, it will display this piece of code, the one that is in the first bracket. If they are not, it will display the else. Okay, so if I come and refresh, you can see yes, it is equal. So let us come and change, maybe I'll make it maybe 15, so you can come and see it is not equal. So one of the statement will be executed. If the condition is correct, the first statement will be executed. If it's not correct, the second statement will be executed. I hope we have understood that. Now we can proceed to identical. So this identical, it will help us to check if something is exactly equal to the other. Okay, so if I want to check if something is exactly equal to the other, what is meant by exactly equal to the other? Because you see, we have these two things. We have, let me first command this one. Let me comment here. So when I share the code, you can be able to get everything. I think I should comment from here. Okay, so we are going to create our first variable, maybe x equals to 30, and then y equals to 30, but in brackets. So this one is a integer, but it's having 30. This one is a string, but it's having 30. So let us go ahead and check if these two guys are equal. So you can just simply say if if x equals to y, you can go ahead and say echo yes. I can say maybe they are, let me say yes. Okay, yes. And then if they are not equal, I'll put the else part and we'll exit the no. So I would like you to see this one clearly. This one is integer, this one is not integer, but both of them, they are having 30. This one's having a value of 30 inside it, and this one just having a value of 30 as an integer. So if I come and refresh, first ask yourself, are they going to be equal or they're not going to be equal? So if you refresh, you can see yes, they are equal to each other. Okay, they are equal to each other, but the problem is one is an integer and the other one is not an integer. But as long as they are bearing same values, they will be equal to each other. Okay, so now sometimes we may need to put too much restriction on a certain validation. Maybe when you want, maybe even the data type should be the same, because you can see here they have different data types but same values, and it says the same. So if you want also the data type to be considered when comparing, what you do, you attach the third equal sign. So that third equal sign, it will check if they are exactly. So we have two types of equal. One will check if they are equal to each other, but the third one, which has three equal signs, it will check if they are exactly equal. So to be exactly equal means that both of them, they should even have the same data type. So if I come and refresh, now you're going to expect the no. Why? Because this one is of different what? Data type. But if we change both of them to have the same data type, that means that these guys are exactly equal, and it's going to display a yes. If I put one in form of a string, to display a no. But you saw, if we don't use the three equal signs, it will be a yes. Okay, so the data type will not be considered. So I hope you've understood that. Well, that's what you call exactly equal. So you have the greater than sign. This greater than sign will help us to check if something is greater than the other. You can do that by yourself. You can practice it by yourself. And then you have the less than sign. This one will help to check if something is less than the other. And greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So you can try these ones by yourself. So we can proceed to the next topic. We have looked at the if conditions. So as we proceed, we'll also understand, we'll look at the if else. But for now, we can stop the if conditions and the arithmetic operations, the operators from there. So let's go ahead and open the next chapter, which is going to be the loops. So loops will help us to iterate or to repeat a certain piece of code multiple times. Assume that you have a list of students and you want to display all of them. So you may not need to write one by one, but you may write only one simple condition, and then it can repeat those particular information. That's what we call a loop. Okay, so we are going to look at different types of PHP loops. So the first type, we call it while loop. Another one is called do while loop, and another one is called for loop, another one is called for each loop. We're going to look at all of them. So let us go ahead and look at the for loop. Okay, so the for loop will help us to loop through or to repeat a piece of code until a certain condition is reached. So let us go ahead and demonstrate this. So I'll go ahead and create a new file, which is going to be number 10, and call this on PHP for loop. Okay, I had not saved it properly.
Screen isn't visible.
Okay, so there we are. So as we said, for loops will help us to repeat a piece of code multiple times until our certain condition is reached. So assume that I want to display from 1 to 100. I want to display those particular numbers. So if you do not have the knowledge of loop, what you'll do, you just go ahead and write 1 and write 2 and write 3, something like that, which can be really hectic. So to solve that, you may need to do what you call a for loop. A for loop will help to do these things that are repetitive without you doing it manually by yourself. Assume that you want to display 1 up to 1000. So will you go ahead and write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you reach 1000? So the solution to that, you use what you call loops. So I'm going to use for loop to display for me values from 1 up to 1000, and we see even how long it can take for the computer to process and display 1 up to 1000. So here brings us to the syntax that we follow when we are writing a for loop. So to write a for loop, what you do, you write the word for and then you open bracket and close it. Okay, so let me first turn this on to PHP. Okay, so this for loop will have will mainly have 3 segments. The first segment, the second segment, and these segments will be separated with semicolons, and then at the end a curly bracket that will help us that will put a piece of code that we want it to be repeated. So let us look at different segments that for loop has. So the first segment is the one for writing initializing a certain value. For example, you want to initialize something, you can initialize it from here. The second argument is the one for checking the condition. Okay, for checking the condition. And then this one, the last segment, in case you want to do something that will move the condition, you can put it there. And then here between, you can write the piece of code that you want to be repeated. So let's go ahead and create maybe here a $i, okay, and initialize it to what? To 0. So I mean that we have initialized I to 0, and the first section or the first parameter of PHP is done. The second one, you check, you create a condition. You create a condition that must be reached. I mean that in case it is reached, the project, the piece of code should stop. So I want to display 1 up to 1000. So what I'm going to do here in the section of condition here, I'm going to say 1000 is less than, 1 is less than 1000. So what does it mean? It means that as long as 1 is less than 1000, this condition will be repeated, or this block of code will be repeated. So that's how we write a condition. And then the last one is the either increment or decrement. So in case you want to increment this I, because it has to increase until it reaches 1000, so you have to increment. So if I want to increment, I come in this last section and I put plus plus. Remember, I've already looked at plus plus is a different way of how you can add 1 on a certain integer. So you can see the section here, we initialize, here we create a condition, and then here we increase. So by doing like this, I can go ahead and echo the I itself. You see, I want to echo the I want to display it. So I can say I and then maybe don't mind about the dot, but as you proceed, you'll understand what it means. And then I, and then put a comma and then a semicolon. Okay, so it means that this piece of I is going to be repeated until I is more than 1000. So for example, when I is more than 1000, let's say 1001. So is 1001 less than 1000? Of course no. And then it means that project will have, this piece of code will do what? Will have to stop from there. So let us go ahead and run it, and you see what we've come up with. So I'll come here and refresh. You can see it did not even take a second to write 1000 what? 1000 numbers. But if they ask you to write them without a loop, it can even take like 2 to 3 hours. It can take even a whole hour to write this. But you see, with just a 3 piece of codes, we have a great results like these ones. So those if for loops, they are very, very important in creating systems, and as we proceed, you'll see that we really need for loops. So you can go ahead and try to do the to do it in a different way. I see our time is up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to end the class, and then the next class we will start from there. We'll start exactly from there, where we'll look at the loops, and then we'll look at functions. So if time allows on that day, we will look at what? We look at arrays. So in your free time, come to W3 Schools in a section of PHP and start going through what I'm teaching you, and learn just for your good, not just for your good, okay? And learn. And once you understand this thing, then it means that you will have understood the foundation of PHP, and foundation is very important. So that's it for today, and I wish you a good night, unless